Hi. Well, I just got through editing the first episode of Inside the Creative Mind, but I made some notes and I wanted to share those notes with you, mostly because I want to share kind of what my thoughts were afterwards, but also um, there's some questions I have that I'm hoping I can get some feedback from you on. And the first one is this: uh, in talking with how Katie created the song "Move," she revealed that this was a lyrics first song. And I am always fascinated by people who do this because it is polar opposite to how I create music, regardless if it's an instrumental or a something with lyrics, song with lyrics. They always start with the music. I always start with the music, and for me, that song after I got it down pretty cold will turn into me humming a melody, and the melody hum turns into mumbling, which turns into consonants and syllables and vowels in there, all kind of jumbled. That eventually kind of just becomes what it's going to become. And it's so weird for me because a lot of times the lyrics will so fit to what the song was, but I didn't go into it with anything in particular, trying to say any particular things. Now, don't get me wrong, there are times when I've intentionally written lyrics, but the lyrics did not come first. The music still came first, but I had something in mind I intentionally wanted to go after. So, if you are a creator of music, how do you go about getting lyrics done? Is it after you write the music, or is it somewhere in between where you kind of write a little music, write a little lyric? Or do you write the lyrics first? Let me know in the comments. Or I'd love to hear your stories for how do you go about creating that way. Second thing that I made a note on was that I find it fascinating, not just with Katie, but with all the people I'm talking to about their first influences and what was going on in their house. And this, can apply to both art and music. But these things that you're exposed to at such an early age, in my head when I'm listening to my guests describe what music was, being played in the house when they were a kid, I try to make that correlation between what I know of them as an adult and that child to see if I can see how you get to this work of art that you're doing now. And sometimes I can make I can say, I kind of see it. And sometimes I just can't. And so we all have these really different stories about how all that kind of forms up into makes who we are today. And I'm just fascinated by all of that. Next thing I wrote down was that Katie mentioned when discussing the creation of the song "Move" that the whole video storyboard and everything came to her all at the same time. So as she was writing this, all this kind of was bam there. And this I have experienced, and I know that, when it comes to visual art, um, fine art type stuff, I know a lot of visual artists that they'll look at a canvas and they'll see exactly what the finished product is going to be. And that's not me either. I cannot possibly do that, but I can do it with music though. Music, a lot of times I will hear things in their entirety, like almost like not so much the lyrics, but the progression, the voicings, the production of the song. Those things are like all of a sudden it's just like there, and it's like I guess all I'm really doing is trying to recreate what I'm hearing in my head. Um, and then the lyrics kind of seem like they just kind of they do kind of bleh, and they're just there, but it seems like that's a little bit of a different process. So my second question to you is, has that ever happened to you? Have you ever had something like a project that you're working on, either a fine art project or a music project, that you have the whole thing kind of just materialize in your head, and so you know exactly what your finished product's going to basically look and be like? So let me know. Let me know if that's ever happened to you. The best is the last of these, and I think it's probably the most important as well. This episode's always going to be really special to me, not just because it's the first one, but also because Katie, her profession, away from music, has influenced, some of the writing and some of the personal things she's gone through. But the point she was making about mental health and the importance of mental health and things that affect our mental health, I can't emphasize how important I think art and music are. If you're an awkward teen, if you're a kid, in my case, I was a kid that was um, being physically abused, and music and art were ways that my brain could get away from, being physically hurt. That allowed me to not only, you know, survive, but thrive, and be able to take something that was kind of pushed down inside of me and give it a voice and give it a means for dealing with it, and not just allowing it to um, swallow me, or uh, forcing me to repeat those behaviors to the fullest extent that I could have. A lot of abuse victims turn right into abusers, and um, I wanted to break that cycle of that. So music has this thing about, it feels what we feel. I mean, if you're down because you're had a breakup of a relationship, it's there holding your hand. It's there with a warm hug, and it's there to scream with you if you're angry. It's there to celebrate with you when you're happy. Music is just the perfect listener that listens to our pain and our joy and reflects it back at us. And I think it is so important for the state of our mental health that, as a parent, obviously I made a ton of mistakes, but the one thing I think I want to be really open about is the fact that I want my kids to have their own music and have their own art and explore that, because that's how you find yourself. I certainly found myself in music and art, and I just think it's important because it allows us to cope with the world around us in ways that we might not be able to do so otherwise without it. So I just think it's really important. And so I'm curious about your thoughts on that. Is music something that you turn to when you're sad, when you're melancholy, when you're happy? And if so, is there something that a song that's really been there for you? I'd be curious to hear back from anybody on what that might be. Anyway, hope you check out the episode. It's a good one, and there's many more to come. So thanks for tuning in. See ya.